Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo. Well, good morning, everyone. Happy Mother's Day to the mothers. I'll go out on the limb and say Happy Parents' Day. I'll get to that later. But first, why don't we begin our service with sutra chanting, and let's chant Gassho to Amida, which is in the purple binder. Namanda, namanda, namanda. Namu Amida Butsu. I recite Amida's name with deep joy and gratitude. I Gassho to Amida, trees and grasses and flowers all grow in his compassion. His light shines throughout the world. I Gassho to Amida. Flowers bloom and flowers fall. From the seed sprout new flowers. This is the truth unchanging. I Gassho to Amida. Springtime brings the happy birds. Their songs all praise Amida. I join them in Nembutsu. I Gassho to Amida. When I call Amida's name, it's Amida calling me. His voice and my voice are one. I Gassho to Amida. When I'm lonely, I recite Namu Amida Butsu. Then I feel him take my hand. I Gassho to Amida. Nembutsu in work and play. Every day with Amida. Every moment filled with light. I Gassho to Amida. Remember the golden chain. Kindness to all living things. I will follow this teaching. I Gassho to Amida. In the clear, bright morning sun, in the fading light of day, in the darkness of the night, I Gassho to Amida. Namu Amida Butsu. I live in his compassion. The great power guides my life. I Gassho to Amida. Namo Amida Butsu. 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 Ganni shikudoku byodo seisai dohoten bodai shin ojo an dakok. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namanda Butsu. Namanda. Okay, next let's recite the three treasures. And I don't think you have the small purple book, so it'll be on the screen. If you do have the small purple book, it's on page 3, but you might have it memorized too. The three treasures. Hard is it to be born into human life, now we are living it. Difficult is it to hear the Buddha Dharma, now we hear it. If we do not deliver ourselves in the present life, no hope is there that we shall be freed from suffering and sorrow in the ocean of birth and death. Let us reverently take refuge in the three treasures of the truth. I take refuge in Buddha. May we all together absorb into ourselves the principle of your way to enlightenment and awaken in ourselves your supreme will. I take refuge in Dharma. May we all together be submerged in the depth of the doctrine and gain wisdom as deep as the ocean. I take refuge in Sangha. May we all together become units in true accord in your life of harmony, in a spirit of universal oneness, freed from the bondage of selfishness. Even through myriad ages of kalpas, hard is it to hear such an excellent, profound, and wonderful doctrine. Now we are able to hear and receive it. Let us thoroughly understand the true meaning of the Tathagata's teaching. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namanda Butsu. Namo. Okay, thank you. I'd like to deliver the Dharma talk now. So thank you, everyone. For those in person, we're never sure, some weekends, we're never sure how many people will come. This is a nice turnout, given it's kind of a holiday. But also welcome to everyone who is online. And it's our Dharma Family Service, Mother's Day 2023. And so I thought, for this Mother's Day, I would talk a bit about mothers in Buddhism. So I had to think a little bit, okay, mothers in Buddhism, can we think of any? So the first one, historically, I think, is Maya, or Queen Maya, who is the mother of the historical Buddha, right? So we hear about, we do Hana Matsuri, we just did it last month, right? And it's Shakyamuni Buddha's birthday, and we get to bathe baby Buddha, but I think often we don't hear about his mother. So his mother's name is Maya. Oh, look, I have a picture. I found a photograph. It's a photograph of a statue. So this statue is from, I think, 7th century Japan. And I don't know how big this image is. My guess is it's not that big. And you can see her there with a kind of Chinese kimono on, even though she's from India. And so, this image from 7th century. So already, what? 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, already over 1,000 years after Shakyamuni is born. So this is like this kind of conception of Shakyamuni Buddha's mother. And so if you look closely, you can see coming out of her sleeve, there's a little figure coming out. That's Shakyamuni Buddha being born, because he came out of her side, right? It's not immaculate conception, right? But it is kind of miraculous birth, right? That she was born, she had a dream of this 6-tusked white elephant going into her side. And then when Buddha was born, he was supposed to have come out of her side, right? And so there, he's coming out her side and then out the sleeve, right? Because she's got the long sleeve there. And so Maya, kind of sad part of the story, and maybe part of why we don't hear about her so much, she's said to have died 7 days after Buddha was born, right? And so he was actually raised by his aunt, by his mother's sister, who then went on to become the first nun in the Buddhist tradition. So women are really important, even going back to the time of the historical Buddha. How much of this is history? Hard to say, right? That we don't have historical records from that time. A lot of it is stories that develop over time. But if you trust Hajime Nakamura, this famous Buddhist studies scholar, he looked at a bunch of different texts. And for a lot of this stuff, he feels like, some of the stories are kind of interesting in this tradition. So, they're repeated from early on. So maybe they do have some historical fact, especially given the role of Shakyamuni's aunt. Right? And so this idea that his mother having passed and then being raised by his aunt, or aunt, I'm going to use both pronunciations, and then her role later in life of being the first nun, the first woman allowed into the monastic order. So Maya, there's the characters that they use traditionally for Maya. So she's really important, and yet, not a lot of historical information. And there's another one like that, Kikonyo. Have you ever heard of her? Kikonyo. I just found this name today. This morning I was looking, yesterday and today. Mother of Shinran Shonin. And so this name, I don't know how historically accurate this name is either. But the founder of our school, Shinran Shonin, had a mother. Okay? But here too, she is said to have died early in his life. Right? And so this tradition that Shinran as well, his mother died early. We really don't know a lot about Shinran Shonin's early life. The story goes he's ordained as a monk at age 9. Is it because of a fall in family fortune? Did both his parents die? Maybe just his mother? There's ideas that maybe his father actually didn't die, but something happened, political or whatever, and he became a monk too. So we're not really sure, but I just thought that was kind of interesting to hear this name, Kikonyo, right, as Shinran Shonin's mother. But we want to get a little more into history that we have more knowledge of. So, Eshinni-sama. She's the wife of Shinran Shonin, right, but also mother to their 6 children, including Kakushinni. Right? So Kakushinni is the child that I think we know the most. We do our Eshinni-ko and Kakushinni-ko, our memorial service, with the Oakland Buddhist Women's Association and all the Buddhist women's associations. And so speaking of them, I got a picture too. Boom, they look familiar? You can, if you're in the room, you can see it up here. I put her, this portrait that we have on the Maijoku. So, because I realized, wow, really important. I started out putting it to take the picture. And then I realized, I'm going to leave it because she's really, really important. And so this is a nice picture we have. And another thing I realized when I put it up, there's stuff pasted to the back. And here's one of the things. It says, Eshinni-zo-sama, wife of Shinran Shonin. And this is all typewritten out, so they must have typewritten this. This portrait of Eshinni was a gift to the attending delegates at the 8th World Buddhist Women's Conference held in Kyoto, Japan, October 1986. That doesn't seem that long ago to me, but it's almost 40 years ago, right? Long enough ago that they typewrote this note, right? They still use typewriters a lot, I guess. Donated to the Buddhist Church of Oakland by Mrs. Sylvia Nomura, delegate. So I thought that was neat. That Sylvia, who I got to know, she was still around when I began my ministry, that she donated this portrait. And so this picture we've had here ever since then. It used to be up in the small chapel, but we keep it here in the Naijin now. So I'm glad to share it. And it's also significant, 8th World Buddhist Women's Conference. They're holding, I don't know what number it is now, but they're holding World Buddhist Women's Conference just last week, or maybe even now. I think it ended maybe yesterday or today, right? So that's where Reverend Michael Endo is, that's where Steve Terasaki is, Kathy, all these people, right? So a lot of our people, that's why I'm playing the organ music from the computer and everything, because they're doing Buddhist Women's Conference now, right? So I thought, oh wow, I didn't plan that out. But this is kind of neat because, Eshinni is this really, really important figure in our school of Buddhism. So like I said, she was the wife of Shinran Shonin, but also mother to their 6 children. And when I was searching her on Google, one interesting statement came up, mother of Jodo Shinshu. I was like, oh, wow, that's pretty cool, right? Mother of Jodo Shinshu. So not just mother in a literal sense, right, of a woman who's given birth, but a figurative sense, right, this kind of symbolic sense, right, pointing to the really important role that she played in Jodo Shinshu, right? That's our school of Buddhism. So much of it is based on Shinran and his teachings, right? But his teachings influenced so much by his relationship with Eshinni. Right? That I think through their lives, right, that we have Jodo Shinshu. She supported him. He was exiled up to Echigo, kind of northern Japan, right, and stayed with her for a while, they think, and then starts moving down and moved to the Kanto area, which is Tokyo now. I think she may have stayed there in Echigo, right, but she still supported him, moved to Kyoto. And we know that their daughter, Kakushinni, was with Shinran at the end of his life. And we know that because of letters. We have letters from Eshinni to their daughter, Kakushinni. The 10 letters were discovered in 1921 in the Honganji, what do you call it, like Kura, the storehouse, right? That they actually, some people were wondering if she was even real. Right? But then we find these handwritten letters written by Eshinni to their daughter, talking about all kinds of stuff. We'll save that for the Eshinni service, okay? But so much a part of it, the fact that Shinran was a monk, but he was married. They had children. Their children and grandchildren, great-grandchildren, descendants, even our current Gomonshu, the current abbot of our school is descendant of them, of Shinran and Eshinni. Right? And this married priesthood is such a huge part of Jodo Shinshu. Right? That it's not monks leaving their families, going off to live in the mountain, right? Living apart from society, but a monk living in society with a wife or with a spouse, right? And having children. And so that, this to me is just such a huge part of Jodo Shinshu that separates it from so many other kinds of Buddhism. The fact that we're, even though I'm up on the podium, I'm above everybody, I can see you all, I should be on the same level, right? We're equal. It's not that the monks are separate, right? And then everyone else, I'm doing some other special stuff and I'm going to get something better. And then everyone else, they have to do some lower practice. No, we're all equal, right? We're equal in the eyes of Amida. We're equal in the practices that we do, saying Nembutsu and living our lives, right? And we're equal in the attainment, right? That we can all attain birth in Amida's Pure Land. And we probably wouldn't have this teaching if it wasn't for Eshinni, right? So in that sense, I think that this statement of her as mother of Jodo Shinshu works for me. So I wanted to, let me shift gears just a little bit and think of the Buddhas as parents. The reason I'm doing this is this service used to be Parents' Day service. Because traditionally at Buddhist Church of Oakland, Father's Day was on Bazaar weekend, right? And our bazaar was always Saturday and Sunday. And so for decades, BCO fathers didn't get their own day. They had to work. They had to go to work and cook chickens or whatever the role they had at the bazaar, right? And so for a long time, even the beginning of my time here, for the first 10 years, this was less Mother's Day and more Parents' Day. And so that, that's always had me thinking. And so this idea of the Buddhas as parents. And this is a poem from Shinran Shonin where he says, Shakyamuni and Amida are our compassionate father and our mother, guiding us through various skillful means that awaken in us the supreme Shinji. So really interesting, and he uses the term bumo, which has the kanji for father and mother. Jihi no bumo, compassionate father and mother, or father and mother of compassion. And so he takes it from Shan Dao, who I mentioned a couple months ago now, I think. Shan Dao is a Chinese master who says that Shakyamuni is our father and mother. And then Shinran says it uses Shakyamuni and Amida. Right? So really interesting how I think Shinran looks to the Buddhas, Shakyamuni and Amida, as our parents. I couldn't find which is which, because I'm pretty sure he says one is specifically like Shakyamuni is father, Amida is mother, or the other way around, and I can't remember which one it is, and I couldn't find the reference. But interesting, right, that he actually applies the mother role to one of the Buddhas. Right? What I like, though, too, is this idea of just parents. I mean, you could say compassionate parents. I put father and mother because it has bumo, it has chichi and haha, right? Otosan, okasan, right? It uses the kanji in the original for father and mother. But in Jodo Shinshu, there's a tradition of referring to Amida Buddha as Oya-sama. Oya-sama. That's another term. And so this term Oya means parent or parents. Right? I really like this. So you can say Chichi Oya, Haha Oya, and Chichi Oya means father, Haha Oya means mother. You can assign a specific one, but just saying Oya, Oya-sama, right? It's not one or the other, right? Maybe it's both, maybe it's just parent without assigning gender. And so I really like this idea. Because, even though we have our Amida image, we have a statue in our Naijin, right? And it's probably looks male, even though Buddhas can be kind of androgynous, right? And yet, Shinran actually preferred to have Namo Amida Butsu as the image, not to have a statue, not to have the human anthropomorphic image. And I wonder if part of that is Amida Buddha is beyond our conception. Amida Buddha is beyond the this and that, all the dualisms of samsara. So why would it be gendered, right? Why would Amida have a gender, right? And so I think that the one way to think of Amida Buddha is kind of transcending gender, right? That we don't have to think of Amida as male specifically, right? Which is why I like this expression, Oya-sama, right? Pointing to just parents. Our Sangha, has, our Dharma school is wonderful and incredible, right? And I really feel that, we're LGBT friendly. We have, different models of what parents can be, right? Some people have mother and father. Some people have two mothers. There's all different kinds of possibilities. Some people have lost a parent. Sometimes Mother's Day can be difficult. It's difficult for me. I lost my mother, 20 years ago. So Mother's Day and Father's Day, I think, can be difficult too. But that's one reason why I kind of like the Parents' Day aspect of it, right? That we can think of it less in terms of specific genders and in a more general sense as parents and Parents' Day, and thinking of Amida Buddha as Oya-sama, as our parent or our parents. Now this is totally off the cuff because we chanted Gassho to Amida and it's got a few, this is the first time. So, I don't use I don't know if you're aware of how gender pronouns and everything is kind of a big thing in society now, and introducing oneself as I'm Harry Bridge, I use he, him, his pronouns, right? And declaring my pronouns. And I believe it's so that people who may have pronouns that aren't what you might expect from old-fashioned traditional ways can feel more comfortable saying their pronouns, rather than standing out as the only ones doing it, right? And so I'm on board with that, to acknowledge, that not our society is changing a lot, and I'm open to LGBT, absolutely, and so people who are transgender, to be able to be themselves, right, without having societal roles being kind of enforced on them. And our Dharma school families, having different non-traditional families, great, right? And so today is the first time we were doing Gassho to Amida, which I decided 10 minutes before service, and I'm like, there's a lot of he's in here. And you might have noticed on the last line when it says, his great compassion guides my life. I said, the great compassion, because I started thinking about it and it came out, right? So I'm think about rewriting it, right? Where we don't have to have the specific gender for Amida Buddha, because I do believe that Amida Buddha as Oya-sama, right? As not having to be he, but being Amida Buddha as our parents, beyond gender. And yet, I also want to acknowledge mothers and motherhood and how important and incredible it is. I'm not going to go through all this because it's a lot of text on the screen there, but the 4 immeasurable minds is an important idea in Buddhism. These are attitudes that one could cultivate that I think are very Buddha-like, and they point to the nature of Buddha. And so the first one, Maitri, is kindness or friendliness or loving kindness, likened to the love of mother for her child. So this is an attitude, this is like a value of Buddhism, how to be towards others. Well, cultivate kindness, friendliness. Okay? But it's not just like being a friend. The classic example from Buddhism is that it's like the love of a mother for her child. And then the next one, karuna, compassion, likened to the love of a mother for her sick child. Right? So that's another aspect of it, right? That it's one thing to be friendly, right? It's one thing to love a child, but when a child gets sick, right? And that feeling, right? And of course, wanting to do everything possible to help. And so that attitude is the compassion of the Buddha. And if you know the kanji for karuna, it's kanashi, sad. And a lot of times Buddhism is misportrayed as dispassionate and without feelings, but no, the compassion has this sadness. because you realize people are suffering, right? And so Buddha feels this sadness, right? And wants to help. I'll just quickly, the others are mudita, sympathetic joy, likened to a mother's feelings toward her child's success, and upeksha, equanimity, calm balance with regard to the sufferings and pleasures of beings, like the attitude of a mother towards her child who is busy with its own affairs, right? So these are important too, right? There's also joy, right? So when the child is successful, yes, you did it, awesome, right? And equanimity, not like freaking out, look what my kid did, isn't this amazing, right? But also a kind of, when the kid is, doing its own thing, it's all good, and this kind of calmness. The other thing to point out, that Maitri character in Japanese is pronounced ji, and the Karuna character is in Japanese, the Chinese pronunciation is hi, and so jihi, jihi no bumo, right? That jihi is the kanji that we know usually used for compassion, and it has both of those aspects, the kindness, friendliness aspect, and the deep compassion aspect. Right, so when Shinran said, Amida and Shakyamuni are our compassionate parents, that's the characters, jihi no bumo. Friendliness and compassion, mother and father. Right? So anyway, I wanted to just share that. Mothers are amazing, right? And some people don't have a great relationship with their mother, that's true too, and want to have opening to that. But I feel like this example shows, a lot of, sometimes, the ancient, don't have to be that ancient, but there's a lot of, animosity towards women and misogyny, right? Unfortunately, continue to flare up. But here's an example in the Buddhist tradition where a mother is held up as, this is the ideal, right? The Buddha's compassion, the joy, equanimity of the mother is held up as the example. So I think that's really wonderful. I wanted to end with this picture of Eshinni, the mother of Jodo Shinshu, the mother of Shinran's children, and this tradition that we have of Jodo Shinshu, allowing us all to be ourselves, embraced in the wisdom and compassion of Amida Buddha, owing so much to her, thinking about, Shinran's birthday. Shinran's birthday is next week. And the Buddhist Women's Association World Conference, right, having just been held, it seems like kind of a lot of this stuff coming together this month of May. So thank you very much. Why don't we conclude the Dharma talk with Gassho. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namanda. Namanda. Okay, gonna stop sharing and then hand it over to Robert Noguchi for announcements. And give me just a sec here. Speaker. Okay.
Good. Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Sensei. Good morning, everyone. And I'd like to also convey my happy Mother's Day wishes to all mothers and parents out today. So I hope it's a beautiful day out. So thank you very much for coming. And welcome to the Buddhist Church of Oakland. First, I want to thank Reverend Bridge for his Dharma message and officiating today's service, as well as being the sound engineer and organ player and everything else that you're doing today in the absence of some of the others in Japan. So thank you very much, Sensei. I also want to thank the Host 2 group, which is led by Linda Minamoto, who's providing hospitality to those attending service at the church today. So thank you very much, Linda. And the Zoom crew, who's working downstairs, taking care of the YouTube and the Zoom presentation online. So thank you very much to the Zoom crew. Next Sunday, as Sensei mentioned, is Gotanye of Fujimatsuri, Shinran Shonin's birth. And we will have a guest speaker, Dr. Scott Mitchell, who's the Dean of Students and Faculty Affairs at the Institute of Buddhist Studies in Berkeley at the Jodo Shinshu Center. And actually, he's in the midst of a book launch, which I'll talk about in just a moment, but he'll be the guest speaker for next Sunday's Gotanya Fujimatsuri service. Also, looking ahead, actually, I guess I'll talk about that in a few minutes. Let me go to the slides here. I guess first, tomorrow, May 15th, virtual program event called Strings of Hope, the Bandura and Koto for Ukraine, which will be held tomorrow at 7 p.m. Pacific time, and it's going to be a Zoom presentation. This is on the BCO website, BuddhistChurchOfOakland.org. Looking ahead to bazaars, next weekend, I can't believe it's already happening next weekend, the Berkeley Buddhist Temple 73rd Annual Satsuki Bazaar will be happening next Sunday, just Sunday, one day, May 21st from noon till 7, with entertainment from noon till 3, and with an online silent auction, food, bake sale, things like that. So that's happening next Sunday, a week from today, from noon to 7 p.m. at the Berkeley Buddhist Temple. As I mentioned earlier, Dr. Scott Mitchell will be having like a book launch and having a conversation with Chensing Han, another IBS graduate and author, called Race, Place, and Religious Labor, a book launch event for the making of American Buddhism. And that'll be happening on May 24th. That's, I believe, a week from Wednesday, from 1 to 2:30 p.m. And that'll be an online presentation. So this is on the BCO website, which will obviously take you to the Institute of Buddhist Studies website. So that'll be happening next week. And as I mentioned, Memorial Day weekend is happening Friday, May 26th through Sunday, May 28th. And there is a cemetery visitation schedule posted in May's Bushin on page 3. So that this is the schedule, and you can see it's quite lengthy. Reverend Bridge will be out making the rounds to all the cemeteries on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday that weekend, and having a Memorial Day service back at the church at 4 o'clock on Sunday, May 28th. Okay, and again, our home bazaar, the BCO Bazaar and Food Festival, will be happening on Saturday, one-day event, June 17th, from noon till 6 p.m. And it's going to be somewhat expanded. We're going to have some additions to the menu, and the OBWA gift shop and silent auction. The children's games will be set up, and we're having a brand new raffle. And for members, you hopefully received raffle tickets in the mail already this week. If you're interested in helping, please contact the church or John Takagaki, who's the bazaar chair. So thank you so much, John, for all your hard work on chairing the bazaar again this year. Immediately following, the week after that, will be the Buddhist Temple of Alamida's Vacation Land Bazaar, which will be on one day, Sunday, June 25th, from noon till 6 p.m. at the Buddhist Temple of Alameda. So that this flyer is also on the church BCO Bazaar website. Turning to the Buddhist Churches of America, BCA, BuddhistChurchesofAmerica.org. If you scroll down a little further, you'll see there's a couple of events happening. The Crossing Over event, which is happening in a couple of weeks, May 26th through May 28th. The Yoga, Buddhism, and Healthy Lifestyle, June 9th through 11th. And then the BYR, the BCA Summer Youth Retreat for high school age youth, June 25th through July 1st. So if you're interested in any of those, please go to the BCA website, BuddhistChurchesofAmerica.org. Going back to the BCO website, BuddhistChurchOfOakland.org, this is the donations page. We accept any kind of donations, small or large, and you can do it through these online donation buttons through PayPal. And we appreciate any donations received and accept them graciously. We really appreciate your support in Buddhist Church of Oakland. So with that, that's it for me. Thank you very much. Happy Mother's Day and enjoy the day. And I'll send it back to Sensei.
Thank you, Robert. One thing I forgot to mention before we close, the tie that I'm wearing was given to me by my mother-in-law. And so I wore it especially for today. And also the wagasa I'm wearing, I often attribute to Seigen Yamaoka, Yamaoka sensei, giving to me when I was still a student. But I think it's more properly attributed to both Seigen and Shigeko Yamaoka. They were really important to me as a student and coming up. And so thinking about her on this Mother's Day as well. Okay, that will conclude our Dharma Family Service. Thank you so much for joining us, whether you're here in person or online. Hi, everybody. Why don't we conclude with Gassho? Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo. Okay, thank you.